Now our next anticipated question is the table of values question and drawing out a quadratic equation on a graph and finding some solutions using that graph. So we've been asked to complete the table of values for y equals x squared minus 2. So we've only got 2 to complete. We've got, I'll write this a bit larger so we can see that, y equals x squared minus 2. And the values we've got to find are the value of y when x is minus 1 and when x is 3. So what we need to do here then to get y is we have to take, for the first value of x, y will equal minus 1 squared minus 2. And again, with a calculator exam, you'd be foolish not to use your calculator. And if you press in minus 1 and square it, and you take away 2, you'll get minus 1 as your answer. Okay, and I'll quickly show you that on the calculator. I've just got one ready here, I think, somewhere. Okay, so I'll show you that. So you're absolutely sure. So you take your minus 1, so I put my minus 1 in, look for a squared button, I've done that, and then minus 2, done that, and press equals, and you'll see the answer is minus 1. And although I'm doing this on an iPad, it works exactly the same as your calculator. So minus 1 is correct. So we'll put that into the table. Now the next part we've got to fill in is when it's 3, so this time we're going to do y equals 3 squared minus 1. Now 3 squared minus 1 will be 8, and I'm sure you can tap that through your calculator and get 9 minus 1 equals 8. Remember to put it in the table and you'll get your 1 mark. On the grid, we've now got to draw the graph in and plot the table very carefully. So we will do that. So it's just really plotting values. So minus 3, 7. Minus 3, 7 is there. So just use a dot. Minus 3, 7. Minus 2, 2. Minus 1, minus 1. 0, minus 2. 1, minus 1. 2, 2. And 3, 8. Now, that 3, 8 suggests to me that I've made a mistake. So let's just have a look at that. So it's 3 squared subtract 2, so I made a mistake there, and I made a mistake there, so we'll correct that to 7. So obviously I'm deliberately making mistakes just to show you what can go wrong. And the reason I knew I'd made a mistake is that there is some symmetry. There's always symmetry in a quadratic equation, and a quadratic equation has power 2. And when I was going to go and put in 3, 8, it didn't match with the minus 3, 7. So it is. So that's why I realised that I'd made a mistake. So I can now draw in my graph and curve it and try and do it as accurately as you can. Okay, that will do for the exam. And I've actually got one that I just did earlier on my iPad to show you. Hopefully we can make that a bit smaller and you can see the general shape of it there and see again the symmetry. So that will get us another 2 marks. The final part of the question says use your graph to solve the equation. I'll write it out so you can see it better. X squared minus 2, that's the graph that we've drawn, equals 1. Now, if you don't know this, hopefully this video will make it very clear how to do this. You need to draw a line that goes through 1, like this. So it goes through y equals 1. Okay, so I'll draw that line in for you now. Like that. So you've got y equals 1, and you've got y equals x squared minus 2. And by finding where they cross, and then reading off the x values, you will find the solutions. Okay, now those solutions, if we look at the first one, it is at minus 1.8. Now it's minus 1.8, not minus 1.9, because there's only 5 spaces between the units. So each space is worth 0.2. So that's minus 1.8. And then my next one seems to line up with 1 and 3 spaces with 1.6. Okay, so it's the crucial you know that you draw that line. So had it been equal to, say, 3, we'd have drawn the line through y equals 3. If it was equal to 1, so we draw it through there. And again, if I do that on my iPad, y equals 1, and you'll see that's slightly more accurate. It's just flipped around. Let's flip it back round that way, and I'll show you there. And there's the line. In fact, if I make it larger, we can see now. There's probably the way I've drawn it on my diagram isn't quite as accurate, obviously, as the iPad, which is exactly accurate. However, they will allow you a slight degree of error because you've drawn this graph in by hand. So anything that's close to minus 1.8, in fact, looking at the iPad, it looks as though it was close to minus 1.7 and 1.7. In fact, I should have used the property of symmetry to realise that they would not be different, right? Because it is symmetrical, so the solutions about 1 would be symmetrical, and that's partly because of the way I've drawn my line. But I am pretty sure they would accept that amount of inaccuracy, because it is a diagram drawn by hand. Okay, well, that's question 15 we anticipate coming up.